Welcome to Synaptic AI Lab. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Abhijeet Sarkar, the CEO and founder, and really the thinking coming out of Synaptic AI Lab itself.
Yeah, specifically, we want to unpack his concept of visionary systems thinking, especially how it applies to artificial intelligence.
Exactly. And this is for you, the learner, if you're looking to get up to speed quickly, but, properly. Find those aha moments without getting totally swamped.
And Sarkar's work seems perfect for that. He's got a lot out there, multiple books, always looking at the big picture of AI's impact.
Especially that one, the Superintelligence Blueprint.
Yeah.
Seems like a cornerstone. It gives us a really broad view, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The strategy, the philosophy behind AI.
It really does. What jumps out immediately is just how ambitious his scope is. He's not just looking at one piece of AI tech.
Yeah.
No, he's trying to build this total framework for understanding how AI evolves and what it does to us, to society.
Okay, let's get into that. So Abhijeet Sarkar, he's a big voice for this holistic view, integrating foresight, strategy, philosophy.
That's the idea. And he heads Synaptic AI Lab in Kolkata. It's pitched as a think tank, an innovation hub.
Focused on responsible superintelligence. That sounds significant.
It is. I mean, the very phrase responsible superintelligence tells you a lot, right? He's tackling the really huge questions about AI potentially surpassing human intelligence.
But with an eye on making sure it helps us, not harms us.
Precisely. That emphasis on benefit, on safety, seems core to his whole project.
And the sheer volume of his work.
Wow. You mentioned the books, The Future of Thought, The Superintelligence Blueprint, of course.
The psychology of AI, synthesized minds, about AI consciousness, generative AI, AI agents and work, even geo-AI and planetary health.
It's comprehensive, to say the least. It covers pretty much all the hot topics in AI.
And taken together, they really show that systems thinking in action. AI isn't just one thing for him.
It's interconnected, affecting our minds, our planet, everything.
Exactly, like a force reshaping it all. Now, something that keeps coming up in descriptions is this unique fusion of technical mastery and philosophical insight.
Right. He seems comfortable in both worlds.
And crucially for you, the learner, he aims to make these really complex ideas accessible, not just for AI experts.
Yeah, for policymakers, for the public, anyone trying to figure out where AI is heading.
That accessibility seems really strategic, actually. If you want responsible AI, you need everyone on board, right?
Absolutely. You can't have effective governance or development if only a handful of specialists understand what's at stake. You need that shared understanding.
Right. So Synaptic AI Lab in Kolkata, it's the hub for this responsible superintelligence focus.
And his books often mention drawing on cutting-edge research from the lab.
But what is the lab, exactly? Is it like a traditional research center with big teams?
Well, looking at the available info, it seems more like the platform, the crucible, for his thinking and writing.
So less about teams, more a thinker's hub.
Kind of feels that way, yeah. Driven by his thought leadership, his frameworks, his books. We don't see a lot about separate, distinct research projects publicly.
Interesting. So it really centers on Sarkar's ability to synthesize all this information and build these big forward-looking models.
Which brings us right back to that core idea. Visionary systems thinking, applied to AI.
Okay, unpack that for us. What does visionary systems thinking mean here?
Well, at its heart, it's about refusing to see AI in isolation. You have to look at the web of connections.
Connections to what?
To human cognition, how we think, to societal structures, to ethics, obviously, to governance, how it all interacts.
So he's looking at the dynamics, the feedback loops, the unexpected stuff that emerges.
Exactly. It's not just what will AI do, but how will AI change us? How will it change society? That's the systems view.
And you see this in his specific concepts.
Definitely. Think about his push for an interdisciplinary, multi-stakeholder approach. Or his taxonomy of intelligence pathways, like a map of how intelligence could evolve.
And that four-pillar governance framework you mentioned earlier.
Right, from the blueprint. That's a tool for managing the system. Transparency, robustness, oversight, liability, pillars to structure our approach.
And he connects the dots, doesn't he? It's not just abstract.
No, he pulls together the tech possibilities like human-machine symbiosis.
Cool, but maybe scary?
Potentially both. And he links that directly to the ethical challenges, the new ethical frontier, he calls it.
And then layers on societal changes. A cognitive shift.
Yeah. how we might think differently. And then the absolute need for governance, his policy and governance roadmap, it's all integrated.
Across different sectors, too, you said. Healthcare, climate.
Healthcare, climate science, finance, education. He traces the potential impacts everywhere. It gives you this panoramic sense of AI's reach.
But the really defining thing seems to be how future-focused he is, always talking about roadmaps, blueprints.
Totally. He's trying to chart a course. Things like his strategic foresight frameworks, doing red team AI audits.
What's red teaming? Trying to break it?
Essentially, yeah. Finding weaknesses before adversaries do. Plus, global what-if scenario planning. He's really trying to anticipate possibilities.
The blueprint even has takeoff scenarios, like how superintelligence might emerge.
Yeah, conceptual models of different ways it could happen quickly. And even a speculative Vision 2050 scenario, trying to imagine where we could be.
It's proactive, isn't it? Trying to shape the future, not just react.
That's the essence of visionary systems thinking. Anticipate, prepare, guide.
And underpinning it all, this human-centric AI future idea.
Absolutely central. The goal is AI that serves humanity, protects our values, that guides all his analysis, all his proposals.
It's not just tech for tech's sake. It has to have an ethical purpose.
That grounding is vital. It orients the whole system's analysis towards human well-being.
Now, he also looks beyond the immediate impacts, right? These second-order effects.
Yeah, this is where it gets really mind-bending. Like, what if AI becomes conscious? How does that change our definition of human?
Or what happens to the economy if AI makes productivity skyrocket?
Huge questions, but, and this is a big but, he also flags the challenge.
Which is?
The sheer unpredictability, especially with recursive self-improvement, AI getting smarter faster than we can track.
So our plans might just get left behind.
It's a real possibility. That tension between wanting structured foresight and facing deep uncertainty is key. His frameworks are valuable, but an intelligence explosion could just rewrite the rules entirely.
Right, which leads perfectly into the strategic side, the governance, safety, navigating the future.
Exactly. The superintelligence blueprint really digs into this. How do we govern this? How do we build in safety? How do we ensure alignment?
And his policy and governance roadmap has concrete suggestions.
It does. Things like always having human-in-the-loop designs, doing that tough adversarial stress testing.
The red teaming.
Right. And pushing for ethical by design engineering, building ethics from the start, not bolting it on later.
He's also calling for international action, isn't he? Treaties, regulations.
Big time. New international regimes, he calls them. Treaties, regulatory bodies, crisis plans, coordination councils. He sees it as a global challenge needing a global response.
Which makes sense. AI isn't contained by borders. He even has a policy and governance playbook.
Yeah, offering templates or blueprints for countries and companies trying to craft their own AI strategies.
It's a very layered approach.
Yeah.
Technical design, national policy, international agreements.
Reflects the complexity, doesn't it? You need action at all levels.
Yeah.
Especially to avoid, uncoordinated development or dangerous arms races.
Okay, let's break down his core strategic pillars. First up, AI safety.
This is huge for him, really tackling the potential existential risks from uncontrolled superintelligence head on.
Moving it from sci-fi worry to actual strategic planning.
Pretty much. Then there's the control problem.
The how do we actually steer this thing if it's way smarter than us problem.
That's the one. He looks at ideas like boxing, containing it, setting up tripwires for bad behavior, even kill switches, though how effective those would be is a big question.
And whether we end up with one super AI, a singleton, or lots of them multipolar.
He considers those different power dynamics, too. It all affects control.
Crucial stuff. And then value alignment. That sounds tricky.
Oh, it's maybe the trickiest. How do we get AI to adopt our values, our intentions? He discusses value loading methods, trying to teach it preferences.
Like teaching a child, but an incredibly powerful alien child.
Sort of. And more complex ideas like coherent extrapolated volition CEV, which is like figuring out what humanity would collectively want if we were smarter and more unified.
Wow, that sounds hard.
Understatement. Translating messy human values into code, a massive challenge.
And the last pillar, risk mitigation.
Yeah, specifically focusing on avoiding AI arms races. The fear that everyone rushes for capability and cuts corners on safety.
Because the pressure is just too high.
Exactly. So he flags that as a major risk needing specific attention and cooperative solutions.
So how does he propose we actually do all this strategic planning? Any specific methods?
He mentioned several. Those strategic foresight frameworks using red teaming, scenario planning to test everything rigorously.
Thinking through the what-ifs.
Right. Also, comparative policy analysis, studying what the EU is doing with its AI Act, what the US is doing, China, learning from different approaches.
Makes sense. See what works, what doesn't.
And even differential technological development. Basically, consciously choosing to prioritize funding and research into safety tech over, say, purely capability-enhancing tech.
Steering the R&D deliberately.
It's a whole toolkit for trying to navigate this.
But, and this feels like a big but again, how realistic is global governance? The world isn't exactly singing Kumbaya right now.
That's the elephant in the room, isn't it? He acknowledges it's a massive hurdle, the feasibility, the enforcement in our current geopolitical climate.
Yeah.
Very tough.
He even suggests more research is needed there.
Yeah, like running agent-based simulations of AI arms races or using game theory formal stakeholder game models to understand the competitive dynamics better. It shows how complex getting global cooperation really is.
Okay, let's pivot a bit to the philosophical side. Ethics, consciousness, how AI changes what it means to be human.
This is where Sarkar's work gets really deep, asking fundamental questions. Not just can we build it, but should we? And what does it mean if we do?
He pushes hard for ethical frameworks, right, based on
Fairness, accountability,
100%.
transparency. Those seem to be his key words. And always circling back to that human-centric AI future.
where tech serves us.
And safeguards our core values. He's really strong on ethical by design. Build it right from the start.
Now that book, Synthesized Minds, about AI consciousness, that's diving into seriously deep water.
It really is. Can machines be conscious? He looks at theories of consciousness, like IIT or global workspace theory, and asks, could these apply to AI?
And if they could, what then? Do they get rights?
Exactly. What are the moral implications? How does it change our own identity if we're no longer the only conscious beings on the block, so to speak?
Mind-blowing stuff. Does he connect this to existing AI philosophy?
Oh yeah, he clearly builds on the giants Turing, Good, Bostrom, Russell. He engages with their ideas, like Bostrom's orthogonality thesis, or Russell's concerns about value uncertainty.
But he adds his own spin.
The analysis suggests he does, yeah. Particularly on those takeoff models, the governance frameworks, and his detailed look at socioeconomic impacts. He's part of the conversation, but also pushing it forward.
He talks about a cognitive revolution driven by AI.
A future where AI isn't just a tool, but maybe a companion, creator, and thinker alongside us, challenging our human-centric view of intelligence.
And the psychology of AI that looks at how AI affects our mind.
Yeah, our emotions, our decisions, raising philosophical questions about, our autonomy. Are we still in the driver's seat if AI is constantly nudging us?
Heavy questions.
Yeah.
But going back to value alignment, the big challenge seems to be, what are human values? They're all over the place.
Precisely. Defining them, operationalizing them for AI.
Yeah.
It's incredibly hard. Values are diverse, sometimes contradictory. Whose values do you pick?
So the analysis suggests we need more work there.
Yes, things like interdisciplinary ethics evaluations to try and find common ground, maybe develop taxonomies of universal human values, if such things even exist. A huge undertaking.
So pulling it all together, Sarkar's whole project is about integrating these streams, isn't it?
Yeah.
The tech foresight, the strategic governance, the philosophy.
Absolutely. He shows how they're all tangled up. Like, if AI did become conscious, that instantly impacts ethics and law. You can't separate them.
It's a remarkably joined-up way of thinking about it.
It is. His strength is that ambition to build a coherent, interconnected picture.
Now, the critical take we looked at, it respects the contribution, right? But it also says more proof needed.
Essentially, yeah. It suggests needing more empirical validation, real-world studies, simulations, policy impact assessments to see how these frameworks actually perform in practice.
Rounding the theory.
Exactly.
And it highlights the big hurdles remain.
Yeah.
Global governance, feasibility, nailing down value alignment, and just the sheer unpredictability of superintelligence.
Those are the core challenges. The vision is powerful, but some might see it as perhaps a bit idealistic given those tough realities.
But even with those caveats, his work seems really influential, or potentially influential.
Oh, definitely. In shaping how developers think, how policymakers approach regulation, how ethicists frame the debates, and crucially, public understanding.
By making it accessible, starting the conversation.
Precisely. And his ideas for practical steps, like sectoral pilot exercises or tracking safety KPIs, offer ways to bridge the gap between the grand vision and actual implementation.
So the strength is the sheer breadth, forcing us to think long-term and interconnectedly.
Yes. The challenge is turning that comprehensive vision into workable action, especially with all the uncertainty around truly advanced AI.
Right. So wrapping up, Abhijit Sarkar's work really offers this incredibly detailed, thought-provoking map for thinking about AI's future, especially superintelligence.
It's that blend technology, strategy, philosophy that provides such a valuable lens. It forces you to see the whole picture.
And yeah, huge challenges remain in actually doing what he suggests. But his work feels like a vital catalyst, doesn't it?
Definitely. It sparks that necessary global conversation about responsible development, about future governance, about how we live alongside machines that might become vastly more intelligent than us.
It's the starting point for discussion we absolutely need to be having.
Couldn't agree more.
So, for you, the learner, we really hope this deep dive has given you a solid handle on Sarkar's visionary systems thinking. Maybe explore some of those book titles we mentioned.
Yeah, and mull over the questions he raises. Which parts of his framework click with you? What challenges seem most critical from your perspective?
Because this conversation, it's huge, and it's really just getting started. It's about nothing less than humanity's future with AI.